Good afternoon, everybody. Today we're going to finish the series on the iceberg theory, and I'll be doing the recovery process for the iceberg theory. Then next week, Loretta and I will have a conversation on the iceberg theory. After that, I'll be starting a series called My Spiritual Journey, which is based on a book that I wrote about my story and my life. So I'm going to do some things with that. I'll have some fun with it. Okay, I want to start off today by just sharing a paragraph from one of my recovery books, my Eating Disorder Anonymous book, and basically it will explain what I want to do today. There is no magic about recovery. It's hard work. We're powerless to change until we came to believe that we could recover. We then surrendered, usually in fits and starts, to the uncomfortable process of making deliberate changes in our outlook and response to life. This process of giving up our old coping mechanism and adopting new deliberate active skills and attitudes gradually restores our balance, integrity, self-esteem, and authority. This is not an overnight matter. There are sure to be setbacks, moments of deep unhappiness and fear. Yet we found that when we work diligently and patiently, we are amazed by a quality of peace, happiness, and usefulness never before imagined. We wish this for you, whether you find recovery in or out of these rooms. Hope you will find something here that you can use, so you may find opportunity to share your experience with others. For such works bring calm and freedom from despair when all other means fail. We will heartily welcome you to join us on this grand adventure on the road of recovery together. I wanted to share that today because in talking about recovery, dealing with the iceberg, and again, I want to just mention the fact that one of the things you have to understand that deep down inside of the iceberg, many of us have what I call 3 different types of secrets. And so many times in the course of our journey in life, there's so much stuff that we kind of put inside and basically we don't want to face, we don't want to deal with. And yet at times we avoid it. And many times we have spent time doing external stuff to avoid the internal. And we talked a lot about this in the lectures before this because, in my own life, I know the first 44 years of my life I spent inside the iceberg. But the outside, is always different. I joke about it, but I describe the iceberg as a frozen Kelvinator freezer. Beautiful and pretty on the outside, frozen solid on the inside. That's us. And so how are we able to get inside and break that ice down and begin to melt it? Now, first of all, we can't do it too fast. We'll get into trouble. Secondly, we really need to be connected to good other healthy people to help us through this process. And those 3 things I talked about are really important. One of them is things that have happened in our life that are traumatic, things that are very serious, and things that maybe we've kind of hidden for a long period of time. It's almost like if you find out who I really was in the past, you're probably not going to like me anymore. That goes right in with number 2. The fear of what people will think, how I'll be able to handle this. Again, we've kept a secret for so long, buried inside of you for so long. We're afraid to let it out. We're afraid to grow. Another beautiful area very many times what I call fear of the unknown. So many of us have this. It's like fear of things that I have no idea whether they're going to work or not. So as a result, so many of us have carried these fears, these anxieties inside of us for a long period of time. So today what I want to do is help us to be able to start the process of breaking these down and beginning to get in touch with them. Now, I mentioned to you last week that I put that diagram on where it says other resources. Okay, the diagram is there. I'm going to just share a couple things about it today. And I do recommend downloading it and taking a look at it for your own particular life. But the first thing we have to realize is that before we can actually get in touch with the iceberg to start the melting process, we have to arrest our addictive process. Now, so many of us have behavior characteristics we've engaged in for a long period of time. They have protected us. They have kept the shell around us. They're hidden. And as a result, then, it might be running around taking care of other people, basically just isolating, hiding. Because the bottom line is, there's always that fear. Suppose people find out who I really am. Suppose they find out the things I did in my other life. That's one of the problems of doing this work. Because so many times when you open up Pandora's box, you have to begin to realize the fact that there's so much on the inside. And one of the things I want to warn you about, don't try to do this too fast. It's not going to work. It's got to be done a little bit at a time, gradually and slowly. Because again, if we melt it too fast, we don't want you using the blowtorch. Notice one thing that really happens. As soon as you stop your addictive behavior patterns, you're going to experience something that's going to scare you. They're called feelings. Things will start to surface. Fear is one of them. Worry is another one. Even sometimes guilt. But above all, anger and frustration. Because whenever you're able to finally start that process, and one of the things I've learned over the years is, I'm only ready when I'm ready. You can't make somebody be ready. Try to remember that. And so as you start the process, open up the door a little bit at a time. So in this whole concept, we have to be able to go, first of all, and realize the fact that, do I want to go right to the center of the iceberg? Or do I want to start from the outside and work my way in? Let me tell you a secret. Remember, the center of the iceberg is something called self-hatred, low self-esteem, and basically a negative image of myself as a person. Now, if I go directly to that, it's going to really hinder me. So what do? I got to do it gradually, a little bit at a time. I got to start from the outside and work in. It's like melting a gigantic ice cube. You get the outside soft first, and you work into the center. So it's the same thing as regards this. So instead of going to the center, you go to the outside. Now, I find it very helpful. That's one of the reasons why I downloaded for you the iceberg theory, the diagram. To be able to go into that diagram and just outline all the different areas that pertain to you. Now, I know some of mine, which are really a big part of it. Judgmentalism was always a big part for me. Resentments, self-pity, perfectionism, driving myself, pushing myself. Now, I'll just start with those. As you identify different things in your life, here's my recommendation. Get yourself a notebook. And then as you pick a topic, let's just say resentments. I have to be able to release all the resentments I have inside of me. Be as honest as you can be releasing them. Will you do it perfectly? I hope not. There is no perfect in this. You simply release what you can release. Stay in touch with what you can stay in touch with. So there's a process to this. It's the same thing when it comes to other areas. And I'm learning over and over again, as you begin to get in touch with your issues, you begin to embrace them. You begin to break the cycle. Something scary starts to happen. Let me give you an example. When I got into my eating disorders program, I began to work the program and work the steps. I began to lose weight. Now, one time I was over 300 pounds. I began to lose weight, and something scared me. It's all of a sudden then, with this new body, I didn't know how to function with it. So all kinds of fears came up, anxieties came up, all kinds of feelings came up. Even feelings towards the opposite sex, all types of things began to happen, and I didn't like it. Why didn't I like it? You might say you shouldn't like it. I didn't like it because it made me uncomfortable. These are things I buried for a long period of time. And once those things start coming up, it scared me. Because again, I didn't know what I was doing. And basically, I was going through the functioning aspect of life. But I realized over and over again that yes, there are people that can come and help and listen. It just takes time, that's all. Also, I learned when I was doing this work to go back and look at the other two major areas, fear and worry. Fear of the unknown. What's going to happen after I die? Excuse me, after I change, not die. Don't die, please. No, what's going to happen? All of a sudden, I begin to realize I got these new feelings. What do I do with them? And yet at the same time, there's a war going on inside of me. It's the old me versus the new me. I joke a lot, but I say it's almost like, remember in kids, we were taught we had the devil on one side and the angel on the other side. And the two of them were battling with each other. And it's actually the battle of good and evil. It's the battle of good and negative. All these things begin to occur inside of me. And that's one of the reasons why you need to have somebody to be able to share this with and talk to people about it. That's why it's important to have people in your life that you can trust, people that you can let off steam with, things you can share with, and people that will not give you advice. You need this because deep down inside, you're starting the process of releasing. And releasing secrets is scary. That's why you need to have someone somewhere that's going to help you through this process. Now, I share this because in doing this type of work, I have to look at the fact that all these issues, no matter what they are, just to think about the concept of it. And that's why it's so important to be able to be in the place you need to be, and be able to be around people that can help you. Please, don't go out there self-disclosing everything. Because remember, we have different types of secrets. We have some secrets that we're carrying inside of us that maybe we really can't share with anybody else. Some things we may have done that we regret that we did them. And also some things that we did that maybe opened up a lot of these boxes, and we got to get in touch with it and be able to finally talk about it. That's why I find it interesting in doing the defrosting of the iceberg. You go back to the steps in the program, and steps 4 through 9 are the working steps, the steps that will help you to defrost the iceberg and begin to deal with stuff on the inside. So one of the things we're talking about is doing an inventory of your life. Step 4, to be able to acknowledge. Now, again, remember, be as honest as you can be and acknowledge and put on paper. And one of the ways, if you want to just do it this way, is take that diagram of the iceberg and circle the different areas that pertain to you that you want to work on, areas you want to go. And as a result, it begins the process. What you're doing is you're getting slowly to the core, and you're starting to like yourself a little bit more. You're starting to release things a little bit more. You're starting to feel better. I'll give you an example. My therapist, and I thank God for him every day, when he worked with me, he was able to identify a lot of issues in my life. A major issue was fear of the unknown. Another major issue was fear that people would find out who I really am. I didn't know who I was. Isn't it ironical to be afraid people will find out who you really are when you don't know who you are? Even though on the outside, everything looked together. So in my case, I stayed busy. The busier I was, the less I had to feel, the less I had to deal with stuff. What I found, though, is I was avoiding me and running away from me. But I realized today that as I begin to defrost the iceberg, different types of feelings, situations, some things will start to surface. You might start remembering things you did 10, 15, 20 years ago, that you regret doing it. And maybe that will happen. So you actually go through these steps, they'll help you. And then it tells you the fifth step, the most important thing. When I got a secret inside of me, I had to be able to finally acknowledge it, be able to acknowledge it to myself, acknowledge it in prayer to my higher power, and then acknowledge it to another person. I like the way they wrote that step, because it's telling me that no matter what I did in my life, even no matter how terrible it was, my life was an open prayer. If I can finally get to talk about it, then finally I can work on it. But I need help. I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Again, this is a couple stories I can share with you. You know, a long time ago when I was still in the priesthood, I had a lady come to see me. She came to see me, she was in her early 60s, and she came to me and she said, "Father, I've been carrying something inside of me for a long period of time. I've been in and out of recovery programs, from every 12-step program you can think of. I just can't get in there and I can't do it. Because there's one hindrance that's been blocking me for a long period of time." She said, "And finally, I trust you enough that I have to deal with it. I got to talk about it." She finally explained to me that when she was a child, she was severely sexually abused, both by her mother and also by a clergyman. And that abuse continued in her life because she allowed herself to be abused by men. She allowed herself to be abused by individuals that she considered relationships. And that abuse process had taken her all the way up to age 60. And the bottom line, during that period of time, she had been married 4 times. She had gone through 3 abortions. All these things were coming up, just flowing out of her. You know, she almost scared me in a way. The stuff just kept coming out. And she said to me that I kept this stuff inside for a long time. It's destroyed my life. I have to let it go. And finally, working with her more than just once for an extended period of time, she gradually began to share and talk about this stuff and what happened. Now, just breaking that barrier of starting to talk to somebody about it, and making sure you're talking to someone you can trust, someone you feel comfortable with, began the process of recovery for her. She took one piece of that iceberg that was beating her down, holding her for a long period of time, and she opened the door. And once she opened the door, she was able to talk about it. And then later on, as time went on, not right away, I encouraged her to share it with someone else. So I told her to go to a 12-step program and to talk to somebody who had been there before. Now, she did not want to do this. In fact, she even got angry at me. "I told you, and I told God, that's enough." I said, "Well, I'm not pushing you when you're ready. Working with her for a while, later on down the road, she was finally ready. And she shared it with someone she felt comfortable with, another woman in recovery who listened to her and didn't judge her. And then she realized the fact that she also was the grandmother of a couple of kids she didn't even know they were, because she was so blocked into this tragedy going on inside of her. So finally, she was able, through the process of recovery, she was able to change her concept, change her attitude, change her life. See, sometimes it takes an act or somebody just being there to get you to go through that process. And as you do this, you begin to realize the fact that all these issues inside the iceberg, every one of them, have to be able to look at them, and again, the ones that pertain to me or to you, look at them and learn how to build a relationship with them. See, in the past, everybody used to say to me, can I get rid of them all? You can't get rid of your history. Whatever you did, you did. Whatever happened, happened. The ironical part is, am I able to finally embrace it, accept it, then learn from it and grow from it? See, experience, strength, and hope, a big part of it. And I've said this over and over again, the higher power tries to guide us. So I put together a little diagram. It's also on that section under Vince's Corner. You can take a look at it. I'm going to put it up here just for a minute to get an idea of it. I'll explain it to you in a minute. Okay, it's a cross. Now, the reason why I put that up there in that direction is the cross has nothing to do with religion at all. The cross is a symbol of struggle. In the middle, I have the word struggle. And struggle is important because, remember, the things we're talking about are not easy. Going inside and looking at your internals, looking at your issues, looking at secrets. You know, remember the old saying, we're as sick as our secrets. And we all have them. There's no exception to this. And the bottom line is, it's scary to go down and look at them. That's why it does involve struggle. In the center of the cross, I put the word acceptance. I have to come to an acceptance of the things I've experienced in my life. I have to accept the fact that I worry a lot. Worry is one of my issues. Guilt, fear, abuse, abandonment, isolation. All these things are part of me. They're part of my makeup. For a long period of time, I denied them all. I don't want to know about them all. In fact, I didn't even know they were there. So much I blocked them. But as they begin to come up, I'm beginning to find out through acceptance, I can then begin the process of being honest, both with myself, my higher power, and another person, be it your therapist or somebody you feel comfortable with, to start the process of opening up. Now, nobody ever becomes totally honest. You do a little bit at a time. But it also involves the gift of faith, the gift of trust. These are all things many of us for years, I'm not going to trust anybody. And yet faith and trust are a hallmark of starting the process. Now, I'm not saying you got to trust the whole world or trust a group or anything to that effect. I want to be able to slowly but surely open those doors, let those secrets out, whatever they happen to be. Some are bigger than others. Size doesn't make a difference. It's how it affects you that makes a difference. I also realize that as I become honest, I'll also begin to experience a sense of humility. So on the cross, I had honesty at the top of the cross, humility on one side. And I develop a sense of humility. Along with it, I may even develop over time a little bit of a sense of humor. I never thought I'd say this in my life. I can look back on things I did in the past, and I can actually smile about them and laugh about them today. Were they funny? No. But the fact that I was there and I engaged in them was a reality. So I have to realize the fact that's an important piece of having faith, being humble, being open, realizing the value of all that, and especially learning how to have a sense of humor, loosen up, and also to realize the fact I'm learning to love myself. See, all this is about healing, because I believe this very deeply. For every defect that we have an asset. If I have the courage and the strength to look at my issues, embrace them, acknowledge them, don't deny them, and then learn, grow from them, pull something positive from them, and realize in doing so, you're opening up new doors, new healing processes in your life. Because I really believe in that concept that everything that's negative has a positive. I can learn from every experience I've been through. People say to me all the time, Vince, do you regret being a priest? I said, no. They were good years of my life. I learned a lot. I discovered a lot. Do you regret this? No, I don't regret it. I begin to realize the fact that the journey of life takes you on a journey. Now, you make mistakes on that journey? Yeah, sometimes you take the wrong fork in the road. Then we got to come back and take another one. In some crazy places, you got to eat forks. You got to keep trying them until you get the right one. It's all part of it. It's life. So life is this constant process of self-discovery, self-awareness, beginning to experience things about yourself a little bit at a time. And what am I really doing? I'm learning how to love myself. I'm learning to acknowledge who I am. I'm able to acknowledge my traits, my characteristics, the things I'm good at doing, the things I'm not good at doing. You know, it's interesting. I've never ever in my life, now I've got 2 master's degrees, I got all kinds of other crazy stuff, and never in my life was I a good student. I probably on an average was about maybe a C student average. And yet I learned something from all that. I learned that I'm not a traditional person and that I can't really learn in traditional circles. I'm good at absorbing stuff and picking it in. But honest with you, if I start reading the book, I fall asleep. But if I pick your brain, as you talk to me about it, pick up ideas from different places, and I've learned I've got this gift of absorbing, of bringing stuff in, then being able to share it through experience. And that is the 95% piece, which is so important. We've all gone through experiences. Some of them were positive, some of them were negative, but they're still experiences. And every experience we've had, things we've gone through, are all part of that iceberg. And we have to be able to accept them, embrace them, learn from them, grow from them, step 6 and 7, 8 and 9. Sometimes I got to make amends for things I did. We've all done stuff in our life. You know, I joke about this a lot of times. I say, we all got stuff. Some of us have a suitcase full of stuff. Some have a steamer trunk. And many of us have moving vans. It's our stuff. It makes up who we are. Now, do I want to beat myself up? That's what we did before. In the center of that iceberg was hatred, beating yourself up, low self-esteem, this kind of stuff. That's the stuff we have to break the pattern of and begin to open up the door to new beginnings, new ways, new directions, new things in life. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you keep secrets, you keep stuff buried inside of you, and out of fear, you keep them buried, they're going to bury you. Because I know our emotional and spiritual system is telling us, slowly but surely, open this stuff up, learn. Learn about yourself, learn what you can do, what you can't do, acknowledge it, humility, healing, forgiveness, being able, all these things come together. And I put these all together around that cross. It teaches me that everything in life, yes, it's not going to be easy. And above all, the hardest part are feelings. Did you know that feelings are neither right nor wrong? They're just feelings. You're allowed to have any feeling you want to have. It doesn't make a difference at all. It's just a feeling. The important thing is to acknowledge them, be in touch with them, learn from them, grow from them, open the door up to them. That's what's important. So you crack the door, then you open a little bit more. Eventually the thing gets open. Not like my crazy door I got in my office, because you open it, it closes. Because it has one of those spring locks on it. It always knocks me over when it closes. The bottom line is, I'm realizing over and over again, sometimes it's going to be like that door. You're going to open it up, it'll come back and smack you. You got to be able to feel the pain a little bit, and then go back and open it up again. And after a while, it'll open up even more. It's the cleansing, it's the opening up. It's nothing new. The more I cleanse negative stuff out of me, the more I discover positive stuff inside of me. I really believe every one of us have gifts and talents and all kinds of beautiful things. But I think for years we've buried them. We've kept them under a bushel basket, been hiding them. We don't even know they were there until we open the doors, begin to let stuff out. Remember, we're as sick as our secrets. And so doing the defrosting of the iceberg, an old Italian saying, take your time, do it slow. My father used to say, bien, bien, little bit at a time, take your time, discover, adventure. I don't want to be done. That's an old codependency trait. You know, when do I get to the finish line? I don't know. I guess when you're 6 feet under. Someday, even then, maybe you're not. I don't know. Your spirit's got to go find something else, someplace to find something out. It's a process we're going through in life. And realize the fact, life is a beautiful adventure. We got to open the door to that adventure and learn from it. Don't wait. Sometimes we have to wait. Who knows? You know, I know one more story. I know a gentleman who came to see me over in Philadelphia, and he had been in recovery close to 16 to 17 years. Was married, had kids, his life had changed dramatically, really, really great. And he's done a lot of work in his recovery. He came to me one day and he said, Father, I want to talk to you. I said, what? I got a secret. I've kept this inside of me for almost 30 years. I've cleaned a lot of stuff up in my life, but I held on to this. I'm afraid to let it go. After talking for a while, he finally told me, when he was a younger guy, much younger, he was in a crack house, and he had stabbed and killed somebody in a fight over drugs. The guy had attacked him with a knife. He grabbed the knife from the guy, and he ended up killing the guy. The whole battle was over drugs and insanity and craziness. He had never told anybody this, Father. What should I do? I said, well, first of all, you've done a lot of good. You got a good life. Things are going well for you. It's a long time ago. Here's what you do. He devotes 20 hours of his time every month to helping poor children with medical issues. He's a paramedic, helping poor children, giving of his time and effort to help at the missions in different places to make up for what happened back then. See, again, the thing I want to bring that out for a purpose because we're not talking about in your history putting yourself in jeopardy. Because sometimes in our craziness, we've done some crazy things. It's being able to share it, be open to it at the right place, the right time, and then basically to go from there. So again, it's protection for self, it's learning, it's growing, it's all part of the process. So what I recommend that you do, you have two pieces of material you can work with right now. If you go on the website under Vince's Corner, additional resources, you have the iceberg theory. The whole chapter is there. Next to it, you have what I call the 4H, the 4H club. Honesty, humility, humor, and healing on the crucifix. Take a look at these. What I recommend is circle the things in here that pertain to you. Then also go to here and look at the process we're going to go through. And as a result, then, everything will fall into place for you. Recovery is such a gift, and yet it's a gift we cannot take for granted. It's a gift we have to simply look at one day at a time. That's why I did that reading. There's no magic in recovery. It's hard work. It's investment. You're looking for magic, go to Disneyland. There is no magic in the program. Sorry. I always love that reading from my eating disorders book. It reminds me over and over and over again that every one of us is a work in progress. One day at a time, one moment at a time. And so the thing I want to bring out today is that I pray is to realize the fact that as we do this work and look within ourselves, we do it with love, with compassion, with healing, with a positive attitude. So we ask God to bless us and guide us on the journey of our love together. Let us pray. God, we come before you in prayer. We ask you guide us and protect us on our journey. Help us to be able to realize the beauty in our life. Teach us to open our hearts, open our doors, to begin to experience the beauty we have inside of ourselves. Teach us to be people of healing. Teach us to heal ourselves so we can reach out and touch others. Teach us to be open to change, to new things and new directions. Above all, Lord, guide us, be with us, and protect us as we walk the journey of earth, teaching us that sometimes we're going to slip, sometimes we'll fall, but get back up and keep walking. And keep that in mind as we pray together. So we ask God to bless us and guide us. We ask God, the Son, to be with us, and God, the Holy Spirit, to be at our back. If we do so, everything else will fall into place. So as a family, we come together, and we pray and celebrate in your name.